Riverside.
Welcome to Dance Talk with Joanne Carey, where the dance world connects, the conversations inspire, and where we are keeping them real. I'm your host, Joanne Carey, and today I am joined with Tamar Rogoff. She is joining me here today after a little bit of technical difficulties we were having setting up the podcast. But phew, I think we did it between the two of us. So welcome, Tamar.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, that was something. That's okay. You know, it happens. I'm so glad you're joining me today. We're going to talk about your career. We're going to talk about where you started, how you started in dance, the messages that you want to give the audience in dance, and what you want to bring to the forefront now at this time in 2025. So welcome, Tamar, to Dance Talk. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. So let's just dive right in with your background and how you started in dance and how that trajectory happened across the years, through the years, and where it brought you to your point now you are in your career.
Okay. You know, I often neglect to say that my father was a pianist. He was also a doctor, but before that. And so my mother was just a real hippie in the 1950s, and she broke down all the walls in our living room and our dining rooms. So my father would play the piano, and from the beginning of remembering, I would dance. You know, he played all the classics, and he played, and you know, as I study about neurology and things, I realize how much got sort of settled into me about music and dance before I knew that it was, you know, a career or there was a class for it. But at a certain age, you know, they thought maybe I had some talent, and my mother brought me to Martha Graham. I was about 11. And so I went to the Graham School for a while, and then I went to the High School Performing Arts Fame School. And so had studied ballet, you know, for several years, and it was mostly Graham technique, modern, and then we had character dance and dance notation, and this is where, you know, I feel my age, but I'm also feel so lucky because I learned revelations from Alvin Ailey himself. I studied with Anna Sokolow. I studied with a woman named Muriel Mannings. There was a new dance group, and my mother was all up on this, so she would get me to these things. And yeah, and so it was just a lucky time when there was just so much going on, so many pioneers, exciting ideas. And yeah, so I also went to a dance camp called Beaupre where Deborah Jowett was my teacher. So I always think of her. And so I had really a rich education.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I spent a summer in Israel with the Inbal Company, which is a Yemenite dance company,
Okay.
with Margalit Oved, who is just such a beautiful dancer, and I learned to drum and to sing. And so I had a big eclectic kind of background, and then decided, you know, after high school that actually I wanted to retire from dance and I wanted to go to college.
Okay.
In performing arts, if you went to college, you had totally failed because you were supposed to just go out and work. So I went to college, and they said I had to take gym, and I said, no, it's okay.
Gym.
I'll teach. Yeah, gym, no balls. So I said, okay, I will teach modern dance for 1 credit. I was 16 and a half. So, you know, so the language, I couldn't escape it. And it was really, when I look back, I understand that, you know, it was what I did then and what I do now. And it was my best language. So Kenneth King was a senior. I don't know if you know him, Joanne. He's really avant-garde choreographer, is intellectual, and kind of coming from the High School Performing Arts, which was very, well, you know, you got your leg up or you didn't.
Yeah.
Your grade depended on where your leg was. But then meeting Kenneth King introduced me to so much philosophy, and he made the world of dance so rich for me. And yeah, so from then I was back in it and continued, then graduated and danced in Montreal. We were escaping the draft.
Okay.
I was in Montreal, and I was in dance companies, and theater companies too.
Yeah, you really do have such an eclectic background, but I also that's what I find fascinating about these conversations I get to have on the podcast, because so often we just see what the person might be presenting at that time, but I'd love to find out about those moments in time that bring you to where you are, because they've all add to who we are as the artist. And you said a couple things, first, I'm going to go way back, because you said about how your mom was like breaking down the walls and everything. Did she literally like take the walls out of the house and that?
Yeah,
So she
yeah,
really was ahead of her time, like
yeah. She
doing that
really,
whole open space, to
yeah.
have. And then the fact that you were, your father was a musician, and to hear that music, what, it does give you that basis. It is in your blood, not only literally in your bones and your blood and your DNA, but then to have to be immersed in that kind of environment all the time, and to be able to find your own voice through that. That's what's really amazing. And
Well, the thing was that at a certain point, I wanted to choreograph.
mhm,
And I was so ensconced with Martha Graham that, I would do two-step draws and one strike. I said, no, I'll be original. I'll do two strikes and one step,
uh-huh,
and I just couldn't find my own voice because
mhm,
I'd been so, into this Graham stuff. And I went to India and I decided to study classical Indian dance. And I did so for 3 years. I became a classical Indian dancer in India.
oh,
And then because I wanted to kind of wipe out Martha Graham at that time, that's what I wanted to do. I'm so glad I didn't wipe it all out.
right,
But,
right.
but then I came home from India and I literally had missed a phase in at least in New York
Mhm,
where people were changing the rigidity of things.
mm,
So there was more like pedestrian movement,
mhm,
and
mhm,
I missed all this. But when I came back, I went to Gina Erdman's Theater of the Open Eye, Joseph Campbell, and because she knew who I was, having been in India, she was such an internationalist. And so I was with that company for a while. I think what you said is so true, those early things, because, going to the ballet, I remember seeing Firebird when I was 4. I can remember it. And the storytelling of Martha Graham, the
mhm.
myths, I still rely on my Greek myths,
Yeah,
and the storytelling of Bharatanatyam, my Indian classical dance. It was so fundamental, the storytelling of it and all the theater I saw in India based on all the gods. And so it was rich material and it was all about storytelling. So
yeah,
when I came back, it was more about abstraction and sort of things that were conceptual. But I found myself to be a storyteller.
yeah.
And so I had to find my way.
Yeah, I love that. And I also am drawn to the storytelling of dance, whether it's in modern dance, in ballet. Those are some of my most favorite pieces I go to see. And, I love Graham. I had shared with you off camera that, I was trained in modern dance myself. But what I found also so rich about my modern training was the storytelling. Also, I think the modern, at least my training that I had, and it was a little eclectic as well prior to me, settling and getting a little more serious about dance, was that, you really were understanding the body, the internal workings of the body. And that's what I love so much and have loved all this time about modern dance. And I'm so happy to see, I don't know if you're experiencing this, but I'm experiencing this in dance classes and teacher conversations and dance conversations, that the ballet world is embracing that more and more to really aid in storytelling, because I think it's so vital in storytelling. So I don't know how you feel about that, or if you want to talk about that a little bit, your storytelling and what that involves for you.
Yeah, I mean, I get involved with a piece when something is usually bothering me,
Mm-hmm.
and
Makes
something is,
sense. Makes sense.
yeah, and there's something that really I have to figure out. And my best place is in my notebook and, in rehearsals and, it's that kind of apart from the rest of the world. It's not that they're not, it's kind of just an opportunity to hone in on something. And, so often, I mean, when I look back, I think of so many pieces that I've done and what they're about. And it's always this kind of quest. And they're done mostly to understand difference. And, I think that I'm always interested in it thematically, but also casting wise. I cast unusual performers in my pieces who, present challenges of moving sometimes and help me see anew, like nervous system, if it's somebody who has a disability. So I just set things up so I can learn a whole lot and answer whatever these questions are for myself. So this last piece, the question was, why are we all getting crazy about changing our bodies?
Yes.
Well, why are we submitting to the knife and all the shots and all, and why is it? And then, of course, looking at myself, carried around for so many years a feeling that my body wasn't right. And that goes back to the high school performing arts and sort of entering the school when before I was an adolescent and then becoming an adolescent and having my body change. And, it was simply just some curves. That's all that happened.
Yeah, it's normal.
Absolutely. But there were red circles around my grade to say, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. My mother used to send me little pieces of steak and carrot sticks for lunch. And I mean, she was just trying to help out. But anyway, I carried that criticism of my own body with me, despite the fact that I love my body and I love other bodies. But that little nagging thing that makes you look at a body not as a whole, but in one, you look at that thing that
Yeah.
bothers you, your nose, your chin, your
Yeah.
hips. And I felt like in myself, if I was going to be this mean to myself, it's going to reflect out to how I feel about other people and what I put out. And I felt that I needed to do, I don't know if you'd call it a cleanse, but a
Huh?
reboot of what
Right,
I
right.
feel. And I know this is very prevalent because of social media, and I don't know if it's just my social media that just continually bats me over the head about anti-aging and
No, it's constant. It's
constant.
constant.
And I have these beautiful grandchildren who are, you watch till a certain age and then they become susceptible to looking like everybody else. And,
Mhm.
it really troubled me. Honestly, what a waste of time. We got an environment that needs looking after. We have a lot of issues. How self-centered, how unappreciative we are of our beautiful lungs and the way our heart works and the way our digestion. I mean, we're miracles. And
Mhm.
and here we are criticizing a nose or whatever. Hey, so that was the instigation for looking at this industry that tells us we're something's wrong with us and then sells us something to fix it. And so it's just so prevalent. But I also bring in the ballet world, and I love ballet, and I have a beautiful performer. But that's a little bit. I'm looking at that as well, at Hawaiian dance, how it's gotten better, which I'm sure it has, and how it needs to go further. So I cast in this piece really people who, if I had auditioned before, wouldn't have taken.
Mhm.
So I have a very curvy dancer, and I have an older woman dancer, and I have this 20-year-old ballet dancer. And the point is that you can be 115 pounds and think you're fat. It's
Yeah.
nothing, this is not rational. This is
Yes.
how we're crazy. We're just
Yeah.
crazy. And so, what I tried for in this piece, it's kind of like a send up of this game show where the contestants come on, and if they win points, they can take them in pounds. They can lose, if they win 20 points, they can lose 20 pounds,
My
and
goodness.
height and years. So
Wow.
the older woman comes on to lose 40 years.
Wow.
So this game show is going on, and it's a send up, but it's pretty dark. And then I switched gears and I created this 25 minutes that is all about the sensuality of the body, the
Mm,
way we feel in our bodies, not the way
yeah.
we look. Or
Look, but what we feel.
so that was my challenge. And just to tell you the truth, working with the curvy dancer, I suddenly changed. my admiration, my way of looking back at myself. I hope it happens to the audience
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm just full of reverence and awe for this person's dancing.
Yeah.
So, I think we're all infected by
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I don't know if all communities are. I know my community is. And yeah, so there's a little bit of an antidote or kind of a
Yeah.
warning.
Yeah. No, I find it interesting, and the timing, of course, is so wonderful. And Tamar is referring to her piece that's going to be premiering October 17th, called Drop Dead Gorgeous, right? That's the name of it. And what a great title, Drop Dead
Yeah.
Gorgeous. I remember when I had my dance studio, I was taking this seminar, a sales seminar, and because I was very like, well, I don't want to sell dance. I want to create. And the person was trying to say, yeah, but it's a business, which it is, da, 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 all that sort of thing. But the thing that stuck to me that I got so turned off about at this was they said you have to find people's pain points and sell to that. And I was like, and it wasn't me, it wasn't one-on-one. It was like a group. I went to this, seminar for dance studios, and I was like, sell to their pain points, and it was like, that's marketing. Like, you're selling to people's pain points, and your point being, we've made getting older, because that's part of what you're talking about, a pain point. All these things are pain points, and we're just flooded and flooded and flooded with that. And now you're creating this piece that addresses that. And to say that you've been just affected in your rehearsals, I can only imagine what the audience is going to
Yeah.
take away. We all have something that we are buying into. So I think it's very powerful. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, it's just so odd to me. Like my flowers,
Mhm.
we buy bouquets of flowers with many different flowers because we love the variety.
Mhm.
And we love the variety in nature. We love the variety of birds. We love the variety of everything. But when it comes to human beings, we don't love variety. We just love a certain status quo, you know? And it doesn't make sense. It would be so much more rich if we just,
Could
allowed.
celebrate, or like you say, allow. I'm sorry I interrupted you. The differences, and see the beauty in that. See,
It sustains
yeah,
sustains us. We need difference.
yeah,
Actually, I think probably biologically we need it. I don't, I'm not a real scientist about it, but anyway, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, and it's getting a lot worse.
yeah, yeah. And I
I
guess,
mean,
go ahead.
well, it's like establish a need, but this need is based on such a deep insecurity, and I know that the insecurity is what we all are walking around with, which is even more troubling in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
That
They're
that
not good
everybody,
enough, or someone's better than.
very few people are just happy with who they are.
Yeah. How are the dancers responding and reacting? Have you had discussions with them or feedback from them, how it's affecting them as they're in the rehearsal process?
Yeah, we have to talk
Hmm.
because everybody loves Act Three, which is the sensuous, but Act Two is the game show, and it's very tough. It is very dark, and it gets
Mm.
very humiliating for them. I
Mm.
mean, that's what we're showing,
Sure, sure.
how this takes
How it
away,
happens. Yeah.
yeah, so that we can show the transformation. And I think it's very, very hard. But it is a whole piece, so there's not one part of it, but we do have to talk about it. And yeah, I don't know what to say, but I feel so passionately about the subject that I can't go lightly over
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
I think it's really destructive. I think
Yeah.
it leads to suicide when we have anorexic.
Well, we hear it.
It's just a very potent anti-life force, and it's so useless. And yeah, Sonia Marie Taylor is an amazing writer. She wrote this book, My Body is Not an Apology. It's a beautiful book. And it's about how it's as easy as just stepping off this ladder that they have us on.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of inspiration from reading that.
Wow. And so take us through. So it's an evening work, and it's in three. Is it three? How many sections is it?
It's 4 acts.
Four acts. Okay, so take us a little bit. Give us a little synopsis, if you would, about each act, like act one, two, three, four, without giving it all away.
Okay. Well, there's a cast of 4. So we
Oh, four.
have,
I imagine like so many people. Four. Wow.
no, it feels like so many
Huh?
people, though. I don't know why. But the game master, Gardner Comfort, I don't know if you know him.
No.
He's an amazing person. He's an activist for Tourette syndrome. He's done an
Wow.
amazing show about the elephant not in the room or in the room. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
about his own body. And
Yeah.
so he's the game master, and it just begins with he's in a dream, but he comes down, and his producers, which are voiceovers,
Hmm.
are goading him to get onto the
Okay.
stage and sell.
Wow.
And then he enters the television studio, and I had this idea that I wanted to be really, really potent and dark, but I didn't want them to feel like I was pointing at them.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So I called it the 100-person shoot. I took the seats where they'll be sitting. Oh, this is giving it away a little.
That's okay. Oh, well then.
Anyway, I made a Greek chorus that faces
Oh,
the
okay. Yep.
audience.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Greek
And
chorus.
so there's another audience in the room as well. And
Cool.
so it's an interesting dynamic. And yeah, I just show how 2 of the women just hit their boiling point and make a change. I don't even know what the ending is, because I
Okay.
never know my
That's
ending till I'm
okay.
at my ending.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's when I know it. But basically, it's a bit of a send up, but it's also kind of serious and dark.
Yeah. And so you said there were voiceovers with the game at master. Is there dialogue at all between the performers, or is that strictly movement?
The only person who speaks is the game
Is the
master,
game
but the
master? Okay.
voiceover is the producers.
I see the producers. It sounds really, I mean, to be inside your head to create all that is fascinating. It really is. It reminds me, when I was in college, I had done a piece. I was in a piece of choreography from somebody, and it was called Vanity. And I loved performing it. It was along the same, there was 3 of us. There were 2 people who sat on the edge of the stage, very well coiffed, well dressed, well coiffed, in front of a vanity table. And where the mirror would be, it was like the audience was the mirror. You know what I mean? You pretended the mirror was there. And then the dancer was in the middle. She was like there was 2 of us sitting, and then the main person in the middle. And the 2 people on the end had this script, like there was a voiceover as well, of all the different ad slogans about beauty, like all different, like, remember Calvin Klein's Obsession and part of the art of being a woman, like all those things. And the people at the vanity tables had to very properly put on their makeup, and they had all these very affected movement, while the person in the middle was trying to keep up with it all, and she was trying to listen to all the slogans and put the makeup on and wear the dress. And so she wound up at one point, her face was like a clown makeup, like crazy. The clothes was all crazy because she couldn't keep up to what this was. And so it's similar, but not you know what I mean? That was, yeah, and it was the same subject matter is what I'm talking about, similar subject matter. And I loved being in that piece. I never did the main person. I did one of the people on the side, but it was always such a showstopper. You could hear the audience like just silent, because it was very powerful, and it remains powerful. So what does that say about our messaging that we're still
Yeah.
having, right? Still having that messaging. I understand there's talkbacks. There's going to be an audience talkback
Yes,
after the performance. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I believe you have quite a panel. I don't know if you know who the panel is yet,
I
but
do. Some of them.
so can you talk about that? Because so the audience will be able to have this discussion with your panelists. So tell us who they
Yeah.
are.
So Dr. Judith Brisman, who wrote the book about anorexia, she's the foremost expert, and she'll join us so people could ask questions about that. And then Linda Hamilton, who we all know she's a dance psychologist, but I remember her for years writing columns in Dance Magazine about the body. And she's just such a authority and looks at it from so many different vantage points, so that will be amazing. And Diana Bayer, she's the ballet person, and she's going to come. And she's done a lot of work in the shelters, and she's done some really interesting work and has a perspective on ballet. And I am looking for, if anybody hears me and can help, a spokesperson for the fat phobia movement, or I'm looking for
Sure.
a political kind of a community that would want to have a voice. And then there's it's not set yet, but there are classes where people come who dance and who wouldn't ordinarily maybe be there because of weight or whatever. So
Hmm.
I am looking for sort of dance, the body positive
Yeah.
approaches. But my cast can really, they can talk quite a lot because they've been in their bodies and they're all, they're targets,
Yeah.
being an older person or a curvy person or a person who has a disability, or,
Yeah.
it's a, we all, you know, we all have a lot to say, I think. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so there will be talkbacks, but I always do have talkbacks.
That's
And
nice. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah, I think it helps. It's good.
Yeah, and I think the audiences enjoy talkbacks too, just to give them a sense. Like if they might, if you're sitting watching a piece of choreography, like, oh, I wonder what that was there. They have those opportunities to talk about that, and then to hear from the choreographer what the thought process was, and what what made them do this. So when you were saying earlier, that this you had said that you create and choreograph things that are bothering you. When did this start to, if you remember, fester or start to become a real issue that you're like, I have to do something about this? I have to create a piece. How did that happen?
Well, for the creating a piece, it was my daughter saying, I think thinner people look better in clothes. That's all she said. Well, she has a good, healthy attitude. And it's just been, I think I've thought about it for a long time. I thought I got to work with Morgan Jeunesse, who died last November. She's a dramaturg.
Hmm.
And she and I, it was just the very beginning of the ideas of the piece. But she's a wonderful, wonderful dramaturg. And we were both admitting that we both have this,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
though and so we were doing this project where on the street, when we would see somebody who we might remark to ourselves was overweight, or
yeah,
we would say, there's a professor from Harvard, she teaches poetry, just to get ourselves off
yeah.
that automatic thought
Yeah,
process that doesn't even feel like it's my own. It feels like I've really, really absorbed it.
I
That
agree with
all
you.
the stupid, the lazy,
Yeah,
I mean, we all have these things, and yeah. So I can't say that the exact moment, but I was really fed up with myself, and I wanted to get rid of it, and I really think I did.
good. That's good. No, and I like that you say that. Like the point is that we do it, we absorb it, and it, like you said, sometimes it's not our own thoughts. That's like, it starts to
Culture.
become it because it's constant. We're hearing it and then we absorb it. I think that's a really good point. I think that's such a valid point to say that we absorb these things, because there'll be something that's like not, I don't know, like if you want to talk about something in fashion, right? And an initial reaction. I remember, this is so long ago. So long ago. I remember something. I can't remember the specific style. And I remember having a conversation at my studio. I was like, what is that? I was like, what is that? Like, that doesn't even look good. And the person said to me, watch, in a couple months, you're gonna come in this studio with that on. And I was like, no, no, no. And then I started to find myself like, oh, do I like that? Do I not like that? It's absorption. I think that's a really valid point, that it's absorption.
Yeah, it's that we are susceptible
So
to
yeah,
advertising. We are susceptible to how movie stars look. We are
yeah,
susceptible to what is the fashion. this is all such insecurity. We both should just be our individualistic
Yes,
selves.
selves. Yeah.
But it's, yeah, it's very, well, we're drenched in it. And
Yeah.
it just seems so absurd with the real problems we have in the world,
Yes.
the
The
real
real
problems.
problems.
And maybe it's just an escape from that. Maybe it's just, I don't know. I don't know. But just respect for the body
Yeah.
and appreciation for the body, and appreciation for life itself, just on
Yeah.
a very basic level. The ability to breathe, the ability
Yeah.
to eat, to sleep. These are all like
Yes.
the miracles. And
Yes.
to feel love. And, we just obsessed. We're obsessed and sick, I'd have to say. Not everybody, but an
Yeah.
awful lot of us. An awful lot of us are on the wrong track about this, especially now with all the injectables. And, it's just, it's not always being thin. Now you're supposed to be thin some places and whatever, you're supposed to look like whoever looks. It's infiltrating to a life to have that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is. It is. And I think it's brave to to create this piece and put it out there. I think a lot more people think like you think, but don't perhaps voice that opinion or think about it after the fact. Like, hey, why did I, why didn't I say that? Or why didn't I speak up about that? Or it's interesting. I think it comes at a really poignant time in our history and our culture and the culture of beauty and the culture of marketing and that culture, because it's gotten out of control. And we hear that all the time. We hear so many people, we hear parents talking about social media and their kids on social media. We hear it ad nauseum, but we hear it ad nauseum because it's really gotten out of control. And I think people are beautiful the way they are. I really do, like you say.
Remember reading about when people got the Botox here, their smile changed. It was more frozen and it was giving different messaging to their brain.
Wow.
So their brain didn't know if they were happy or not
Yeah. Wow,
because the
that's
muscles,
interesting.
the muscles were not functioning in
Yeah.
connection with the other muscles.
Right, right. That makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
They even say that I've heard something, a similar thing with the texting. Like we're not writing anymore. Like we're not handwriting. We're constantly typing or using just texting digits. And all the digits, they send messages to our brain, and we're not like children aren't learning them, and developing like we were learning, having to learn cursive. And my goodness, it's certainly it's a rabbit hole. It's a poignant piece you're working on, and certainly makes me think about it, and I think it'll make the audience think about it too. Is there anything else you want to add about it, or about the piece, about your work, about future work? I don't know if you have anything else coming up after this. Tell us.
well, I would like to add that I'm working with wonderful collaborators. Leanne Arnold is doing my video work, and it's incredible. And yeah, I just add that, one day there was threatening storms and, the whole climate and all the floods. So I just periodically decided to make a storm happen in my piece every once in a while because it's hard to ignore that larger picture. So right now I'm trying to kind of figure out how, it's kind of apocalyptical. It has that part of it, but it's just, when I go to the studio is my most relaxing moment. I'm
Mm-hmm.
there and I'm working and we have wonderful people to work with. As soon as I leave, it's like, oh my God, all the headaches, I wear
Yeah.
so many hats. I'm administrating, I'm raising money, I'm trying to get the people in the seats. I mean, it's very difficult in my
Yeah.
position because I don't have a staff. I
Yeah.
have people help me, but, so I just love going to the studio for 3 or 4 hours because
Yes.
then I'm just telling the story and
Yeah.
working on how to tell it better and better and better. And yeah, and it's so I'm happy, but you might hear me complaining
Yeah.
half the time. Well, I guess, we often hear the romantic, people are
Yeah.
having a gala, everybody
Yeah.
should come.
Yeah.
It's very affordable.
Good. And when is the gala?
The gala is on October 18th. The piece is at La Mama, and La Mama is my wonderful home. When Ellen Stewart was alive, she's the mama. She just embraced me as the family, and I could do anything I wanted there whenever I wanted. I have never had such a feeling of being lucky. Also at PS 122, Mark Russell was running that. And also, he would say, you're not doing what anybody else is doing, but I want you to do it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so I just feel so grateful that I'm given a theater, and so I can't bitch and moan because
Yeah.
it's such a opportunity
Hmm.
to do it. And it's also really hard for the arts right now, very hard for the arts right now. And, we're not going to be getting government support like we used to. And so it's almost like a little engine that could. We all
Yeah.
have to really we just have to keep heart,
Yes.
and keep going and hope that this devastating part of our history will be gone at some point and we can
Yeah.
rebuild the arts.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I hope so. I think they're the arts are so vital to a community and to society, and people like you, artists like you, storytellers, right? I always say that dancers are the greatest storytellers. I think we're the greatest storytellers. But yeah, so Tamar, thank you so much for joining me. Again, I want to point out, I pointed them out. You pointed them out earlier. Your sunflowers on your in the background. And again, if anybody's just listening and they don't have the video on, Tamar has these beautiful sunflowers in the back, which are so cheer. They're one of my favorite flowers. I love sunflowers. I love geraniums. But yeah, I always love sunflowers. They follow the sun. Do you know? Must know that, right?
They
They
move.
turn. I love that.
Yeah.
I only discovered that like a few years ago. I hadn't ever seen that happen, and then so I just love that about them. But thank you so much, Tamar, for joining me on Dance Talk, and go see her on October 17th. Drop Dead Gorgeous, and listen to the talk back, and then go to the gala on the following day and support Tamar and
Yeah.
her work.
We'll be there till November 2nd. It's 3 weeks.
Excellent.
And there's all the information on the La Mama website. You can
Hmm.
go to Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
You're welcome, Tamara.
It was
Thank you.
fun.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. After we got everything all fixed, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for listening. This is Dance Talk with Joanne Carey. Follow us, like us, and share, share, share. Thank you, everybody.
Powered by Riverside.